Okay friends, it's time to get started on our job. One of the first things we want to do is start taking off this door panel right across here. To do that, I'm going to come right up to this area right here with a plastic trim tool, and I'm going to carefully get in between and try to separate. There should be a push clip essentially right in this position. There we are, and we can carefully pull this off of here. Now we're going to start separating this wiring harness. I'm going to use a small pocket screwdriver, and the area that you want to try to get in between is the two parts to the wiring. So essentially I'm just going to get right underneath this lip, gently pry it apart, and then we'll separate the two. Once you have it apart, give it a quick inspection. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion and it would need to be dealt with. This one looks fine, so I'll set it aside. Now let's make our way down to this bezel right here. For this, I'm going to continue with my plastic trim tool, and I essentially just want to get underneath one of the edges, and I'll start gently prying this. Now as I pry it, I'm also going to pull on this door handle a little bit, and I'll continue pulling it off. There's going to be several push clips behind here that you're essentially just going to need to pop free. There we are. I'll slide this off. There is going to be wiring behind this, so we're not going to go too far with it. To remove this electrical connector, we're going to come right over here with our small screwdriver, carefully lift up on this tab, and then we'll gently pry this off. Once again, we'll inspect that connector. If it looks good, set it aside. Behind that area, you're going to find a Phillips head screw. Go ahead and remove that screw. Let's move along to the window switch here. Carefully get underneath this area. We'll gently start pulling it up. Behind this, you're going to find another electrical connector. Let's go ahead and disconnect that as well. For this, you want to squeeze on this tab right here. Gently pull it up. Give it a quick inspection. Set it aside. Let's go ahead and start taking the panel off of the door now. Carefully get in between this area and gently pry. Pull this right off of here. There we are. Have a quick look behind it. You can see that you still have a whole bunch of wiring that needs to be disconnected, but we're not worried about that. We're just going to go ahead and set this right down right here. The next thing that we're going to do is start removing this vapor barrier right here. Now as I grab onto this and start removing it, you can see all this black right here. This is called butyl tape, and it's extremely sticky. If you get it on your clothing or even your skin, you might have an issue getting it off. So just be very careful with it. I'm going to go ahead and carefully remove this without tearing it so I can reinstall it when we're done. Set that right aside. With that vapor barrier out of the way, you have a nice clear view of the inside of your outside door handle. Now to remove this, you're going to want to look for two 10mm headed bolts. I can see one here on the forward aspect, and then a little bit further back towards where that lock mechanism is, you can find the other one. Let's go ahead and remove the pair. From the outside of the door, we can go ahead and grab onto that handle. We're going to try to remove it from the door. Just keep in mind that there is those rods still attached along the backside that we're going to have to remove in a minute. Just tilt this a little bit. We should be able to start pulling it down and out. Now that the door handle's out of the door, let's continue on to removing this clip right here. This clip holds the door lock inside the outside handle. So once we remove the clip, we'll just go ahead and slide the door lock out of position. Feeling underneath this area, I can feel that there's a little tab. Now generally for these tabs, I just use a small pick. I'm going to carefully try to get underneath it, and we'll gently lift it up and out of position. Do the same on the other side. This one's a little harder to get to. Now we can go ahead and take that right out of there. We'll leave this hanging right here. Now we can deal with this. Now for this one right here, this little hooky-doo right here goes in straight and then it curls down. So all I'm going to do for this is just go ahead and grab onto this handle, carefully grab it and start swinging it around and pull the rod right out of it. There it is, friends. All right, now it's time to install our brand new outside door handle. Let's go ahead and turn it around, and we're going to get ready to install that locking clip. Let's go ahead and take this. We're going to slide it in position. Essentially, I'll just put it over one side, just like that. And now we can spread this and put it over the other side. Now we can slide our rod on here. Just bring that right around into position. Now let's take this. We're going to slide it underneath the door. Let's slide the door lock into position. Okay, I've got a nice click. I'm going to press it in until it completely latches. There we are. Give that a nice tug to make sure it's completely secured. Now we can start putting this in. To do this, it's going to be easiest if you go ahead and pull on that door handle. That's going to bring this lever down. Now we'll gently slide it into position. Now we're just going to come in from the inside portion and we can start in both of our mounting bolts. Once they're both started, we'll snug them up. Make sure they're nice and tight. Before we go ahead and put the door panel back on, let's test it and make sure it functions properly. Now to do this, the safest way is to use a small rod like what I have here. This is just a 1/4 inch extension. I'm going to come right into the door latch here and essentially go like this. That basically thinks that the striker is in the closed position and the door is shut. So now what I want to do is apply pressure, forcing it apart, and I'm going to go ahead and pull on that door handle. When I did that, you could tell that it released and essentially the door would open for me. At this point, I know the handle works fine, so I can continue. Now it's going to be time to go ahead and put our vapor barrier back on. Just double check everything. Make sure everything's connected as it needs to be inside here, and of course it's mounted the way it needs to be along this way. Assuming everything looks good, go ahead and grab onto that vapor barrier and we'll start reattaching it. Just want to line everything up with where it came off of and just press it right on. Now we're going to get ready to put our door panel back on here. I'm just going to go ahead and take these two wires and put them in the proper positions. For this one, which has the 90-degree bend, that's going to go up and through this top hole. This other one is going to go underneath through this area. Now you don't want to leave this hanging loose. This is actually supposed to be secured to this point right inside here. Now we're going to talk about how to get this door panel on. If I feel along this area here, I can feel a lip. That needs to fit up and over the door where it's going to mount. Also looking at this, you're going to find a whole bunch of little push tabs that need to press into the door. So of course you're going to want to make sure you have everything lined up, and then we'll go ahead and press it in. All right, let's go ahead and get this up here. You'll also notice that I have this other small wire for the speaker up here. Now I'm going to take it and go nice and high. Essentially I want to make sure that that lip that I showed you on the door panel slides up and over this area of the door. Once it's up there, I'm going to go ahead and rest it down and in. Okay. Now the next thing that I always do is just have a look down along the side of the door panel. I'm trying to make sure all those pins are lined up with their corresponding holes. Once they are, we can go ahead and press this in. Okay, it's looking good. Now we can put in our Phillips head screw. Make sure that's nice and snug. Let's connect in our window switch. Give it a nice click, give it a tug. Now we're going to go ahead and slide this down into position. Lock it in. Time for this bezel. We're going to reconnect our connector for this. Listen for a click, a little tug. Now there should be a couple different press in points. Should be one there as well. Pull this, slide this in, lock it. Now we can get this corner piece in here. Let's plug that in. A little click, give it a tug. I'm just going to take this, slide it down, bring this down and into position and press it in. Okay, so at this point, we got the car back together. What's left to do now? Now, of course, you're going to want to test it and make sure it functions properly. After that, go ahead and take it for a road test. Thanks for watching.